You are listening to The Memory Keeper by Evan Vaile. Chapter 14.
There was a sound, or more correctly, a cascade of sounds, like the patter of many bare feet on linoleum. "Listen," the senior officer whispered. He shone his battery-powered torch into the threatening gloom, searching for the source of the sounds. His flashlight illuminated the sign on the wall beside him which read, Level 7. The senior officer was positioned at the rear of the group, his foot on the first step of the stairwell which ascended to the level above. The director was in the lead, shotgun raised, beady eyes peering into the inky blackness, already halfway up the stairs to level 6. Strung out between these two men was the remainder of the team, nervous, gripping their shotguns tightly, moving up one step at a time. The senior officer strained his senses to detect any movement. "Someone is back there," he whispered. "We're being followed." "You're being paranoid," another officer said. "No, I'm not," the senior officer began to say. Suddenly, a knife lanced through the darkness and lodged in the senior officer's forearm. He looked at it dumbly. When his nerve endings confirmed what his eyes were seeing, he dropped his torch and screamed involuntarily. The officer behind him instantly became a believer and flashed his light around in a panic. Suddenly, he saw them, eyes, dozens of pairs of eyes, low to the ground, staring at him fervently from the dark. Grabbing his senior officer, he dragged the injured man into the safety of the stairwell, then opened fire into the corridor. More knives cut through the air, thrown by unseen attackers. The director and his team retreated, hurrying up the stairwell, a ragged bunch under this pressure despite years of training. The director burst onto level 6, hearing the shouting and the frantic shots from behind him as the knives found their targets and the insane subjects drew closer. This level appeared deserted. He sprinted down the corridor to the next stairwell. His team followed him, protecting his back, firing into the screaming horde of bloodthirsty killers which issued from the stairwell in close pursuit. It was frightening to watch. Whenever one inmate went down, two leapt forward to take his place, risking their necks at the vanguard for the chance to sink their claws into anyone dressed in an officer's uniform. The director fled up the stairwell to level 5, with the engineer hot on his heels. They smelt the acrid stench of fuel in the air before they noticed that the floor was slippery with the flammable liquid. The engineer paused, touching his fingertips to the shallow pool, then to his nose. "Petrol," he said to the director. Whether the director made his cowardly decision at that moment, or when he arrived at the top of the stairwell on level 4, is difficult to determine. The remainder of the team didn't pause to sniff the air, too busy were they fighting off the enraged swarm of inmates leaping after them. When they had expended all of their shotgun ammunition, the officers dropped the empty weapons and drew pistols from their holsters. The director hastened up the slippery steps to level 4. There he waited, catching his breath, examining the translucent film of fuel that led from the top of the steps, all the way down the stairwell, and spread widely through level 5. He waited, fingers massaging the trigger of his shotgun, until his officers were standing on the landing midway up the stairwell. He laughed at them. They were a bedraggled and pathetic group. Further down, he could see the nasty subjects collecting on level 5, standing in the fuel, peering up the steps at their exhausted prey. The director pumped the reload lever on his shotgun and aimed at the fuel on the floor. "You remember how Bob had a job to do?" he called to his officers. "Now, it's your turn to do that job." The engineer was the nearest to the top of the steps. Realizing what the director was about to do, he threw down his shotgun and leapt up. A heartbeat later, the director pulled the trigger, igniting the fuel. A wall of heat and flame shot down the stairwell and spread through level 5, searing the very air in the corridor and roasting everything in its path. The officers were engulfed before they could move. Their screams of despair mingled with those of the burning inmates, and they all clung to one another in their final agonizing moments until they were fused together as blackened blobs of ash. The engineer's legs caught on fire as he clawed his way to the safety of level 4, and he ripped off his shirt to smother the flames which had begun to melt his trousers to his skin. The director slowly, calmly turned his irreverent gaze to the struggling man at his feet, but made no move to assist him. When the gasping engineer had saved his legs, he stared disbelieving into those eyes and realized his boss was totally and utterly insane. He looked closer and saw in those dark orbs the orange reflection of his burning officers. It was them or us, you understand, the director said in a distant voice. The inferno crackled and snapped at the air. If the inmates got any closer, we all would have been killed. The engineer's shotgun was a melted piece of metal and wood somewhere down below. The director looked down at him coldly, unblinking, his own weapon firmly in his hands. The engineer swallowed and nodded. He didn't say anything. There was nothing really to say.
That is the end of this chapter. To listen to the next chapter on YouTube or to purchase the digital ebook from Amazon, see the links in the description.